Welcome back, Troglodytes, to your daily dose of guitar information, the Trogly's Guitar Show. When listing guitars for sale online, it's quite common for people to lie in their descriptions. They say things such as, "This is the best top I have ever seen," or "It's the nicest playing guitar I've ever had, but I need to sell it because blah blah blah." There's a lot of ways to spice up your listing by doing all the common cliches. However, this listing right here is just flat out lying, and it's so hilarious. So I found this searching Reverb one night, and it was listed as a Gibson Les Paul Supreme 2004 wine red. Okay, that's nothing too crazy, but I clicked on this particular listing to take a close look at it because I thought the wood grain was quite interesting. It's got a lot of ringage to it, but like nearly zero flame in the slightest. And if you know anything about Les Paul Supremes, is that they're known for their flame tops. Here's a beautiful one in an awesome color. You can find some trans white ones. You can also find trans black. Now there's a few exceptions to those rules. They also had the Florentine series. There was a Guitar of the Week edition. But normally, when you think Les Paul Supreme, you think super beautiful figured woods. But the other cool thing about Supremes is the fact that they also have an arched back to them, which, again, typically is highly figured. But if we look at the back of this one currently on Reverb, it's got nothing. It almost looks like it's a mahogany back instead of a maple one. So this thing's kind of got its own vibe going on. You know, it's dorky, it's not as desirable or as cool as other Supremes, but at the same time, it makes me love it because it's an underdog. So $3,200 isn't that bad of a price, so I came down here to read the description. Les Paul Supreme features quadruple A flame maple top and back. Sorry, man. No, that one does not have a quadruple A flame maple top and back. Then it goes on to read that he's had 4 Les Paul Supremes, and this is possibly the most intense flames he's ever seen on a guitar. Okay, at that point, I had to report this listing, because if you look up here, no feedback, New York, New York, this is obviously stolen photos of a guitar. Had you had purchased this from this guy, you wouldn't have ever gotten this guitar, because this is a fake account trying to defraud you. So they likely took these photos from a listing, and then they also stole somebody else's pretty well-written description, and they matched them together, and then, yeah, created something that made absolutely zero sense. I am happy to see that Reverb finally took this thing down after a couple of days. But that is one of the most ridiculous lies that I've seen on Reverb in a while. But speaking of more lies and deceits, I wanted to bring this up. If you're ever searching on eBay and you run across a really rare guitar that you're super interested in, and you come down here and it says, the buy it now price is this, stock number this. Sometimes it'll have a big graphic that says contact this number or whatnot. It's likely a scam, guys. This is 100% a scam. And I've talked about it before on the show, but I've been getting a couple of messages about this lately, so I wanted to cover it again. Yeah, here it is. It's in the pictures. So it says, please read, this item can be purchased at the buy it now price only. No bidding allowed. Do not bid. You gotta contact them here. Now, if you do contact them there, here's what's going to play out. They're either going to want you to bank wire transfer or some other non-traceable, non-refundable source like PayPal gift or Zelle. Only use those services if you 100% fully trust who you're dealing with. But another giveaway here is you can tell these are just, taken from online because they're so small. They're not full resolution. I'm sure a lot of people would be suspicious of a guitar of this caliber and price range to be open bid and having no protection or anything, and seeing the whole buy it now for $4,500, that's a pretty good price for that guitar. So somebody contacts them and gets scammed because they're probably going to look over here and go, golden age cycles, 5,000 feedback, 99.7% positive. I mean, that looks pretty good. And oh, it looks like they sell tons of guitars. So despite having motorcycles in their name, they must like guitars. And old Chuck E. Cheese. What? See, that's the thing. Even I was getting sucked into this. I was thinking $40 for an original Chuck E. Cheese electronic guy? Yeah, that's a deal. But no, what this is, it's a hijacked account. This was a real place that probably sold bikes. And basically what they do is they do a CSV upload. So you're going to see the exact same guitars every single time this guy hijacks an account. So once you've seen one, you've pretty much seen them all, but they do like to change them up. And you can tell they target all these different places. From memorabilia to beautiful Pokemon cards worth more than your house. Use your head, play it safe. Don't deal outside of eBay and Reverb if you have any type of uncertainty, because that's why eBay and Reverb exist, is to give you protection. I'm not going to say they're perfect, but if a seller is auctioning off all these very valuable things with no reserve, probably not legit. Like, how many Charizards does this guy have? But I've got a couple of other nice guitars I want to share with you guys tonight. So this is an SG Standard. It's regular and unassuming, built in like the 68 style. This is what normal Gibson USA SG Standards look like. But it's a mahogany body with super flamed figuring. That's not a spec, this is just a particularly nice example. Sometimes you can find figured mahogany. Now this isn't the craziest example I've ever seen. Like you can see it's a little bit spotty. Pretty heavily flamed here and right there, but maybe not so much right here, but it could just be the viewing angle. But these flame-bodied SG Standards are pretty cool. They usually don't sell for a huge premium, but these aren't always available. So if somebody doesn't actually want to sell and you have to strong arm it off them, yeah, it's going to be a little bit more expensive. Same thing is true on Les Pauls. I like to collect the mid-2000s era Les Paul Standards that have flamed backs and quilty backs, just because I think they're really fascinating. It's something that's not supposed to be there, but it is. But this one was just on Reverb a couple of weeks ago, and surprisingly, only $1,600. I thought that was a very fair price. But next, let's talk about the Rick Beato Les Paul specials. So I reviewed this guitar in this episode, and my opinion was $2,000 was too much. Not because I don't like Rick, or because I'm jealous that I don't have a signature guitar, it's basically a faded double cut, which granted doesn't necessarily exist in this exact format, but I really thought that was going to be like a $1,600, $1,800 guitar, so it was just slightly above what I thought it was going to be. So I was really curious how the resale market was going to work with these. And to my surprise, people were actually paying quite considerably. For example, this one is at $5,000, which is way above market value at this point in time. But looking through sold listings on Reverb, obviously you got your brand new ones, but resale market wise, they seem to float between like $2,500 up to $35. Now remember, those are asking prices, people come down, but I would say that whole $25 to $32 range seems to be where these things ended up being. However, currently it looks like you've got your pick at around $2,700. I actually received a message from somebody who bought theirs and sold it and then bought a custom shop version of this guitar for the exact same price. Whenever you mix charity with the initial release, it just doesn't feel right reselling them, but you know, the market will do whatever it does. So I'll be interested to watch them, because apparently Gibson has been talking about doing like a second run, but I was certainly happy to get to document one. But then this morning, to my surprise, a couple of nice BFGs showed up. Finally, an ink blue. A couple of months ago, there was one of these on eBay, and bidding got fierce. Like, I was bidding like crazy too, because it was a really nice example. But I think I tapped out around $2,500 and ended up going for like $3,000, which was absolutely insane for one of these, but it is one of the coolest finishes that belongs to a BFG. BFG, if you're not familiar, you can check out this episode, stands for barely finished guitar. Basically, they don't fully sand it down. They don't put all the plastic parts on it. They chamber them out. They don't have any inlays. For whatever reason, these are cult classics, and I fully love them. I want a complete set of every single color. So naturally, I really like Gator green when it has a lot of green showing, and then I've been waiting for the right ink blue. So after missing on that last one, when I see this one on Reverb this morning, I'm like, oh yeah, finally, it's here. And only $2,300, not a bad price for one of those. But then I flip to the back and it's black? Is that supposed to be black? Yeah, apparently, I just never realized it. The ink blue is black. But it looks like the headstock on this one might be a little bit worn. I'm not quite sure if that was from the factory or not, to be honest, because these things actually were aged from the factory, kind of similar to the Joan Jett Melody Makers. They would wear them in along the edges, sometimes on the neck. Some are a little bit more extreme than others. So sometimes it can be hard to tell what was factory and what wasn't. But this right here, ruined my entire day. Somebody messed with all of the electronics. It's no longer a collectible example, unfortunately. And not the cleanest solder work. Like, if you're gonna have a clear backplate, you better have some really nice looking stuff. But it looks like we might have some impressions on this, so I think this one was actually played quite a bit. So, all things considered, for a player's grade one, not a bad price. But also at the same time, there was a transparent gold one. Now this color is not exactly as rare as Gator green and ink blue. However, it's cool. It's a nice gold top. It's got that interesting snakeskin-like vibe to it. Do I think these things are worth $2,000 that sometimes you have to pay for the rarer colors? No, there's definitely much better guitars out there. But if you can get one in that $1,000 to $1,600 range, I think you're gonna have a lot of fun. You also have some signature models out there, like if you're upset you can't buy the $50,000 Greenie anymore, you can sometimes get a pretty good deal on the BFG Gary Moore. Now, it is really even close? No, but it's got a name attached to it that's similar to Greenie. You can channel one of the 3 members that have owned that guitar. And heck, they even have a tremolo version if that's your kind of style. Speaking of style, here's kind of a cool quilt top natural Les Paul custom. You don't see the natural finish too often. Normally when Gibson goes crazy with nice quilt tops, they put some sort of a finish. But you can just tell, this one definitely has the quilting characteristics, but it looks like it's gonna have more so the movement of flame. So that thing will look pretty cool in person, judging by the photos here. Then the back's just a plain mahogany, nothing too crazy. It's available at $6,000 if you're interested. You can follow that reverb link in the description. And then lastly for today, we have one from Bizarre Guitar. If you remember correctly, I bought my cool custom shop Deluxe from these guys. I also got a Noel Gallagher from them. These guys have been getting a lot of cool custom finishes, but they told me a lot of the stuff that they've been getting as far as like made to measure is not stuff that they particularly ordered. It was hot list stuff from the Gibson Custom shop. So Gibson Custom's just having a great time with all these sparkle finishes. But if you want one, generally you have to act pretty quickly, because what's been happening is resellers have been buying these customs and then posting them for $8,000. Just because custom color Les Paul customs that you don't have to wait for are kind of few and far between. But this one's a cool pinkish purple hue. I bet this would really pop in person. I mean, if I was hurting for review and demo pieces, even I would probably be interested in making an offer on this, because I bet that would look great. Alright, Troglodytes, I hope you enjoyed tonight's episode. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe, and we will catch you tomorrow on the next one. Take care.